morning dear students. I am Kavita Sagar. Today we are going to learn about the first chapter of our history book. The name of the chapter is What, Where, How and When. The learning objectives of today's session are: dear student, history help us in knowing our past king, kingdom and society. History also tell us about the way people live, the food they ate and the cloth they wore. History also tell us about the occupation of people. History tell us about the great achievements and mistakes made by our ancestors. History also tell us about the game children play during the particular time. We learn from history to make a better future also. Introduction. Dear student, in today's session, we will discuss following topics: where did people live, name of the land, finding about the past through manuscript and inscription. What do dates mean? What can we know about the past eating habits, clothes they wore, houses they lived in, lives of different people, their games, stories, songs. In these pictures, we can see the hunting and gathering lifestyle of human in past. We can also find out about the life of hunters, herders, farmers, rulers, merchants, priests, craft persons, etc. We can also find out about the game children played, the stories they heard, the song they sung. As we all know that the earliest people were hunter and gatherers, so they wandered from one place to another and did not have fixed or permanent settlement. Mainly they wandered along bank of river like Narmada because water is the essential requirement human life. These people knew about the vast wealth of plants in the surrounding forest and collected roots, fruits and other forest produce for their food. They also hunted animals. Now see the Suleiman and Kirthar hills. People here began to grow crops like wheat and barley in this place around 8,000 years ago. People also began rearing animals like sheep, goat and cattle and lived in villages. Also see the Garo hills to the northeast and the Vindhyas in central India. These were some of the other areas where agriculture developed. The places where rice was first grown are to the north of Vindhyas. Development of the civilization. Around 5,000 years ago, some of the earliest cities flourished along the bank of Indus and their tributaries, that is Indus Valley civilization. Around 2,500 years ago, cities and civilization developed along the bank of Ganga and its tributaries. This led to the rise of Magadha kingdom at the southern area of Ganga river. In this map, we can see the Indus Valley civilization. Now see in this map, we can see the Magadha kingdom. In ancient time, the area along the river Ganga and its tributary zone in south was known as Magadha, now lying in the Bihar state. Its rulers were very powerful and set up a large kingdom, and kingdoms also set up in other parts of the country as well. In the next slide, we will discuss the various reasons of traveling of people. Common people for livelihood, to escape from natural disaster like floods and droughts, etc. Army conquer lands. Merchant for trade. Religious teachers travelled to spread religion and wisdom. Some for adventure spirit. In this section, we will discuss that why people travelled. Throughout the year, people travelled from one part of the subcontinent to another. The hills and high mountains, including the Himalayas, deserts, river and seas, made journeys dangerous at that time, but never impossible. So, people moved in search of livelihood, as also to escape from natural disasters like floods or droughts. Sometimes men marched in armies, conquering other lands. Besides, merchants travelled with caravans or ships carrying valuable goods from place to place, and religious teachers walked from village to village, town to town, stopping to offer instruction and advice on the way. Finally, some people perhaps travelled for the spirit of adventure, wanting to discover new and exciting places. All these led to the sharing of ideas between people. Students, the effects of the travelling are as follow. The special things of these movements enriched our cultural tradition. People have shared new ways of carving stone, composing music, and even cooking food. Through the travelling, people from across the frontiers also came into the subcontinent and settled here. These movements of people enriched our cultural traditions. People have shared new ways of carving stones, composing music, and even cooking food over several hundreds of years. Now we will see that how our country was named. India due to Indus, which is called Sindhu in Sanskrit. The Iranian and the Greeks who came through the northwest about 2500 years ago were familiar with the Indus, called it the Hindos or the Indos, and the land to the east of the river was called India. Bharat. The name Bharat was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest and who are mentioned in Rig Veda. The earliest composition in Sanskrit dated to about 3500 years ago. In next slide, we will discuss that how we can know about the past. There are several ways of finding out about the past. One is to search for and read books that were written long ago. These are called manuscript because they were written by hand. This word comes from the Latin word manu, meaning hand. These were usually written on palm leaves or specially prepared bark of tree known as the birch, which grows in Himalayas. But on the other hand, there are some limitations to use manuscript. Over the years, many manuscripts were eaten away by the insects. Some were destroyed, but still many have survived, often preserved in temples, monasteries. These books dealt with all kinds of subjects, religious beliefs and practices, the life of kings, medicine and science. Most of the manuscript written in Sanskrit, Prakrit, that was the language of ordinary people, and Tamil language. We can Also study inscription to know about the past. These are writing on relatively hard surface such as stone or metal. Sometimes kings got their orders inscribed so that people could see, read and obey them. There are other kind of inscriptions as well where men and women recorded what they did. For example, kings often kept records of victories in battle. Except manuscripts and inscriptions, there are also many sources which are studied by the archaeologist and historian to know about the past. The famous archaeologists of India are Dr. D.R. Sahani, Dr. Vibha Tripathi, Dr. R.D. Banerjee, etc. The well-known historian of India are Bipin Chandra, Ramcharan Sharma, Romila Thapar. Archaeologists. They study the remains of buildings, paintings and sculptures. They also explore and excavate under the surface of the earth to find tools, weapons, pots, pens, ornaments and coins. Some of these objects may be made of stone, other of bones, baked clay or metal. Objects that are made of hard, imperishable substance usually survive for a long time. Historian are those who study about the past, source for the information found from manuscript, inscription and archaeology. After getting source, study of past become interesting as historian and archaeologists work like a detective. What do date means? If someone asks for date 2023, it means years after the birth of Jesus Christ. Birth of Jesus is supposed to be 0 point of the history. Before that time, all the dates are counted backward and are called BC or before Christ. The time after birth of Jesus is called AD or Anno Domini. So, 2023 is AD 2023. CE means Common Era, used instead of AD, and BCE, before Common Era, used instead of BC. Conclusion: human civilization is outcome of so many challenges in the past, and we must learn from the past to make a better future. With that, we have come to the end of today's session, and I have given some assignment work for you. Please note down and do this. Thank you very much.